Make sure to be a member on the channel, link is in the description. Hello guys, once again it's Matt, and today we have another video. So we are continuing for the second part of the tier list video that I did yesterday. But first, let's thank our members. Man, I'm so proud of having the first Fulcrum Test Pilot member. So thank you, Overlanding11B. It helps a lot. You have no idea, man. It really does help a lot. And yeah, make sure to subscribe. Thank you all the Foxbet members, Silami, Astropub, Diaf, and Chalas, and all the Fishman members as well. Let's get into it with the second part. See ya. So the MiG-21 BIS, I think it would be not great, not terrible. It is the same aircraft that we have here, and even though it has an upgrade that is not having to be able to carry the countermeasure pod under the fuselage there, it doesn't have the R60Ms. So even though it's a little bit better in the performance because of that, it doesn't have the R60Ms, and then it just becomes a normal MiG-21. It is the R60Ms can improve a lot the effectiveness of an aircraft, and I think the MiG-21 SAU it's just a tiny bit better, than it makes it worth it. So we have the MiG-23M. I'm going to put it on the not great, not terrible, together with the MF. It's basically the same aircraft, so not much to talk about here. Then we have the MLD. Obviously, I'm going to put it on the Power Creepers. It was the best aircraft for a very long while. Has the best Mikoyan radar until now. Best missiles, Air-24s. Countermeasures are very, very good. And compared to the MLA, it is a tiny bit better because it has better wings and a better radar, which makes it a tiny bit better to fight against an F-14, for example, against an F-5, a J-7, something like that. So it is just a more capable aircraft, the best version of the MiG-23, and I think it was way too OP for a long time to not be a power creeper, even though the top of the food chain is actually changing because of the F-14, and more aircraft being added will make it so that it's uh, even worse than it is right now, but still a very amazing aircraft. I still fly the MLD over the F-14. The way that it flies, the way the performance, the missiles, I think it's just easier to use than the F-14, and it is just more comfortable for me. So yeah. For the attacker versions of the Mikoyan family, we have the MiG-27M, which I would put in on. No, yeah, I mean, it does have the R60Ms, which would be very, very good. So I think it would be kind of OP because of its air-to-air capabilities. I mean, it has a lot of ground, a lot of countermeasures. It has a very light nose, so it is very, very good to actually dogfight in this. With the R60Ms, it is just very, very capable. And it is a very, very capable bomber. You can carry a lot of Fab 500s. It is a very good attacker, ability to carry TV guided stuff and a lot of other things. It is just a very, very good aircraft. And the K variant I would put in Power Creepers because it is very, very dangerous to use an aircraft like this against tanks. It is such an amazing aircraft to kill tanks together with another aircraft like the Jaguar A and stuff like that. But this is the whole package. It can do a lot of dogfights. It doesn't have BVR missiles, but it can do a lot of dogfights. You can win basically everything in a dogfight. Depending on the weight that you're carrying, it can be a very good bomber and a very good attacker with its Carina TV system. It can have a very long zoom, and it can carry the KH-29Ts together, so the Cab 500. So it is a very, very capable all-around aircraft. The only problem with it is that it doesn't have the BVR missiles, obviously, because it changes that for a ground attacker perspective, which both of these don't have basically anything compared to it. The MLD doesn't even have a CCIP for bombs and stuff. So yeah. So now we go to the UK. We have two Phantoms that I'm going to put in the same thing. I would say they are not great, not terrible. I mean, they are very capable aircraft, don't get me wrong. They have pulse operators, but the missiles and the way that the gun works and stuff, it is just kind of limited. The Skyflash is a very capable missile, better than the AIM-7F against Clutter and Chef, but it has a very, very short range and very short energy. The radar, even though it's a very good radar, it can have its problems. It's the same radar as in the F4J, and it's really blind. It had its problems with blind speeds. And another thing is that if you want to use a gun, you have to carry under the fuselage, so it becomes a problem as well. So it is just one of those aircraft that is very good in right hands, but normally it's kind of meh. So it's not great, not terrible, but very capable aircraft. Now we go for the Japanese. So we have the F4EJ, which I'm going to put it. I wanted to put in the trash bin, to be honest, because it really doesn't have anything for it. It doesn't have the two missiles. And I forget to say something about this. The F4K and the F4M and the F4K, they use the M9G, so yeah, it's problematic. Even though the F4J uses it, the M7F kind of compensates for it. So yeah, but the F4EJ, so it is a very early F4E. Doesn't have the Agile Eagle package, so it doesn't turn very well. It has the same countermeasures and stuff like that. Has the cannon, but the missiles are kind of limited. The radar is kind of limited. I think this aircraft should get maybe a lower BR, 10.7 maybe, or even if you get 10.3 without the flares, could be a thing as well. So I don't know. It's just a weird aircraft that can be problematic to fly. The missiles are the AIM-7D and AIM-7E, so they are really bad missiles. A probability of hit rate of less than 10% most of the time. And basically the AIM-9s that carry this aircraft, but you are really bad at dogfighting, so yeah, it's not a very good aircraft. But then we have the Kai, which, to be honest, I will put it on the power creeps because it just received the AIM-7F and it can receive many upgrades to it, so it is going to be very effective for the long time. So it doesn't have the Agile Eagle package, which makes it kind of a bad turn fighter, but it is a very good interceptor technically because it has the APG-66 radar, which makes it a very potent weapon, basically one of the best radars that we have in game, only comparable to the Vegan, to be honest, in the blind speeds department and stuff like that. Even though the F-14 radar has better range, it has its problems with blind speeds, so it has a very good radar for the time, and it has very good missiles, so the AIM-7F, and it has the AIM-9P, which is not the most amazing thing ever, but I feel like soon we will see stuff like the AIM-9P4, maybe AIM-9L to an aircraft like this, once more 4th gen stuff is added, so in an aircraft that is already one of the best in the game, and it will become even better, so it is kind of a power creep. So let's get to China. First of all, we have the F5A. So back in the day, it would be like not great, not terrible, because it didn't have flares and stuff. But they added that, and I think it's kind of OP. It's basically the same as you all. I mean, I don't know. It's between those two. I would say it's still maybe not great, not terrible, because it has way less powerful engines and it doesn't have a radar. But especially because of the engines, it can limit its ability to turn. It is 11.0, but if you compare to the other F5As, the F5A and the F5C, they are way lower BR because of the missiles. So just two AIM-9s to be 11.0, kind of not that good. So I think it's not great, not terrible, kind of a very good aircraft in the dogfight, but it has its problems with power and it doesn't have anything else, so it's kind of limited. Then we have the F5E, which I will put it on the same as the normal F5E. It is still one of the best aircraft in the game, but it has its problems. It has a very weird damage model as well that I forgot to mention on the American one. But it is a very capable aircraft. It just needs better missiles to be OP. So I don't think they will add it there, but add that. But still, if he had AIM-9Ls or AIM-9P4s, it would be power creepers. But still, I'm going to put it on kinda OP. Okay. Uh, so the J7 now, the Communist China, I think it is still considered a power creep. It is an amazing aircraft. The power to weight on this, and sorry about that, the power to weight on this, and the ability to turn better than basically any aircraft in the game. The power to weight, it is just an amazing aircraft. It has one problem: it doesn't have any BVR. Of course, the air to ground capabilities are also kind of limited, but the main problem is that it doesn't have any BVR. It doesn't even have a proper radar. It has a radar rangefinder. But with the performance of the aircraft, having flares, having chaff, and having the PL5, I would say it's a power creep. It's a very, very good aircraft. And I will think that if he gets Python 3s or anything like that, he could face MiG-29s and stuff like that on a turn fight, and it would be alright, to be honest. So very, very good aircraft. Another Chinese aircraft, we have the J8B. I'm going to put it on kinda OP because it can have the same qualities as the J7. Very good PL5 missiles, very good performance, speed, everything. But it has a main problem. It has the Aspide missiles, which are one of the best missiles, radar missiles in the game, to be honest, but it has a very limited radar. So that makes it kind of almost useless. It's not useless, but it is a problem to the aircraft. Especially with such a good missiles, we needed a better radar to be able to be a power creep. So it is kind of OP depending on the hand that it's flying, but it is comparable to other aircraft like we have here. It's nothing too fancy. And on the same kind of thing, I would say the F-104 SAS, the SASA, which is the Italian top tier aircraft. I think it has the same problems with the J8, but I'm going to put it on not great, not terrible. I mean, it has only 4 missiles. It has kind of limited options on the way that it flies. You can not take more radar or even better radar guided missiles with better missiles together, or at least some kind of option that you could use the cannon together. And with the performance of the aircraft, it is fast, but not that fast. And it can be problematic to flight. And the flight, and the real problem with this aircraft is the radar. I mean, even though you have the Aspides, if you use the Aspides, the radar is just, it doesn't matter. Using 4 AIM-9Ls would be the best option with the gun, and still with that, you only kinda is a short range kinda aircraft, and then you realize that you are in an F-104 and you doesn't turn well. So makes it not a great aircraft, but not a terrible one as well with the AIM-9Ls and stuff. It is a very fun aircraft to fly, but it is kind of okay, not really too much. The Mirage F1s. So you're going to talk about the Mirage F1s. I'm going to put them together here on kind of terrible. They are very good aircraft, to be honest, but they have some problems, very bad problems. The radar is very limited. It cannot turn well against basically anything. It basically loses to everything. Um, the missiles are one of the best missiles in the game, but the Magic 2 doesn't have IRCCM that it had in real life. And the Super 530 goes to a chef like it is a dog going for a bone. So it really doesn't like chef. It really is limited on the amount of missiles. So it becomes kind of a problematic thing. The cannon is very bad as well. The only thing that does well is actually fly very efficiently. It is an aircraft that can do super cruise very easily, and it doesn't consume a lot of fuel and stuff like that, so you can take less fuel. But even with that, it doesn't turn well. The missiles are very good, the Magics, but still they're not as they are supposed to be. And the Super 530s are very limited. The CT, I think it's a trade-off basically, because you have less weight, but you have one less gun, and you have more capabilities of air to ground, but it doesn't matter much. It's just dumb bombs and stuff, and it is just not very good aircraft in the game right now. Then we have the Vegan, an aircraft that I think it should be added as a power creep, even though a lot of people would compare it to other aircraft that I put it here on canal P. But I think it is one of the best aircraft in radar wise. It has very good performance, very good flares in chef, very good everything. The only problem with it is the weapon systems. The guns are. I mean, there is a lot of potential here. That's why it's a power creep. It has a lot of potential. The vegan needs the computer for calculating the bullet drop because it doesn't have the tracers that it that's why it doesn't have the tracers. It doesn't have the tracers because the computer would calculate the bullet drop. The AIM-9, the RB-24J is very limited, to be honest, in power, in top tier. I still think that we need better missiles, maybe the AIM-9L, maybe not right now, but in the near future. And the Skyflash, even though it's a very, very capable missile at short ranges, it doesn't have the large range that it is supposed. I mean, it should have in a normal BVR missile. But even with all these problems, the performance is such a good one, and the radar is such a good one, the RWR, everything is such a good thing on this aircraft, and it has so much potential of being better that I think it's just kind of a power creeper. And it will be very, very capable until we receive MiG-29s and F-16s and stuff like that. So very capable aircraft. Now the last nation, so we can wrap it up. We have Israel. So we have the Kafir C2 and the C7. I think the C2 would be, I mean, it's not a terrible aircraft, not a great one. Just two missiles, 11.0. It's kind of a high BR, to be honest with it. I only put it on not great, not terrible because it has a very, very large payload. So you can do a lot of points using bombs and stuff. And it is a very good bomber, a very modern aircraft, but it has its problems with air-to-air because it doesn't have weapons. It's a very good aircraft in performance, but it has its problems. The C7, I think it would be kind of OP, depending on the situation, because I really think that it should get the Python 3 missiles. So that Israel can be a top tier nation. But yeah, having 4 AIM-9Gs helps a lot instead of 2. But yeah, basically this is the main problems with it. It is that it doesn't have very good weapon systems. Doesn't have BVR, doesn't have anything like that. The radar is non-existent. It's just a radar rangefinder. So yeah, they are very, very good bombers, like really great ones because they are fast and they take a lot of payload. And in a dogfight, it can win basically against anything if you know what you're doing. So a very, very amazing setup of those two aircraft. But I think they need better missiles, at least the C7. Um, and the last but not least, the FRE. I'm going to put it on here as well with the other FRE. Same problems that the other have. Maybe the AIM-9s are a little bit better in certain situations, the AIM-9Gs, and the Js on here will be in other situations. But the main weapon systems, the radar and the AIM-7E2, they are just the same. The gun is the same. The radar still has its problems, the PQ-120. So yeah, it's just the same aircraft. So this is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to leave it in the comments what you think I should change it in here. And yeah, let me know in the comments. I think it's a very good tier list. I mean, I know that a lot of people will not consider this one, but it's just a good attack aircraft that it should be here. And all the other ones are kind of common sense in here. Here it's kind of a mix. But yeah, considering everything and every single type of aircraft. And this, Jesus Christ, I do not like to fly this aircraft. But I hope you enjoyed and make sure to subscribe and I see you guys on the next one. So bye guys, see ya.